Welcome to the Dockhouse Rugby Show special. Today, we've got a former Rugby League referee of over 20 years. This man has refereed over 400 games, including 300 in Superleague. He's also video refereed 2 Challenge Cups and 4 national finals. He was one of the first men to go professional or full-time as a referee. It's our guest today. It's Mr. Ian Smith.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for the introduction.
That's all right.
Welcome,
Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, God, just short of 300 in Super League. It just, time absolutely flew. And now I work for State of Mind mental health charities. So, looking forward to this next hour or so.
Yeah. So, I mean, let's go straight back to it then. How did you initially get into it all then, Ian?
I come from a rugby league family. You know, my dad played for Huddersfield back in the 50s and Salford and broke his leg and never really recovered. So my dad used to take me up to watershedings, Oldham Rugby, from being a little kid, and you know we never paid because he would always lift me over the turnstile. We just drop a little kid over the turnstile, never paid. Got a bit embarrassing when I was 21, though, you know what I mean? So just rugby league family.
Brilliant.
And I played amateur rugby league, a club called Salem Hornets in Oldham. Played in North West County Penal League, but oh god, I was rubbish. I weren't big enough, hard enough, fast enough, strong enough. And then I had a really nasty rib injury. And we were amateur at the time, so you had time off. You didn't get paid.
Yeah.
So I just thought, you know something, I'm going to take up refereeing. And it's one of them where you just feel like you click a switch and, oh my God, I love this. This is for me. And it
worked for you.
Just snowballed from there, really.
Yeah. So it still kept you in the sport that you love, but obviously you wasn't getting injured every week and clanged.
No, absolutely. You know, Haywood under 14s in 1996. My God, 25 years ago, where's that gone?
I know, tell me about it.
And it just took off from there. I think there was a niche in the market for a new referee. I think some of the established Super League refs and the Grade 1s at the time, they'd been around for a while, and I think they just needed somebody. And Greg McCallum, who was head of the refs at the time, he just spotted some skill set I obviously had, and I just came straight through to Super League pretty quick, to be fair. You know, within a couple of years.
Just a couple of years?
Yeah, I was a grade 1 referee within 21 months and got in Super League just over the 2-year mark. So, I think it's just one of them where you think, I can do this, you know.
Do you think your early memories then, you spoke about watching rugby at the watersheddings, that understanding of watching the game and your amateur career playing rugby as an amateur, do you think that helped you when you first started refereeing?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, because it's in my DNA.
Yeah.
You know, and because I love the game, I'm a connoisseur of the game. I love watching it. I love participating in it and everything. So it wasn't a chore going watching a game. It wasn't a chore studying the rules. It wasn't a chore going through countless videos and countless clips to try to improve myself, because not only was it my hobby, it eventually became a full-time job. Well, if any of us can say that our hobby is our employment, then you're a very, very lucky person.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely. Did you ever ref back at the watersheddings?
No, God, no. It was an housing estate long before I started refereeing.
That was a loaded question because Dave used to play for Oldham.
Right, a few times.
Right.
I think he was getting a bit twitchy then, too.
No. It was a try. It was definitely a try. I thought it was you who disallowed it.
No, unfortunately.
I've held on to that for 30 years. I wanted to bring it up.
So, stepping forward then, you've jumped there into Super League. Is that when it became full-time? At that point then?
No, we didn't become full-time until 2006. December 2006, ready for the 2007 season. So I've been in Super League since 99. So I'd already done best part of 150, 160 Super League games.
Right.
And I think what it was, all the players were full-time in Super League at the time. All the admin staff, all the coaches, all the physios, the whole Super League ensemble was all full-time. The only people that weren't full-time were the referees. So we'd go out to work, do a normal day. At 4 o'clock, I'd have my kit bag in the boot of my car and I'd be zooming off to a Super League game. You know, after having the fatigue and the stress of whatever job I was doing at the time. And then you rock up and you throw your kit on. That's not preparation. No. That's not nutritional. That's not hydration. That's not physical, mental, whatever you want to say. And you rock up and then they wonder why you make a mistake. Well, of course, because you've had all week to prepare for this 80 minutes. I've had literally last 3 hours.
Your mind's still on the job you were doing a couple
Absolutely,
of hours earlier?
Yeah, at the time, I was a learning mentor in a secondary school.
Right.
So you'd all sorts of grooming issues and fighting and racial stuff and all this sort. And then you've got Wigan Saints. You've got
just
Wigan
the game.
And then you've got Wigan Saints on a Friday night after work. So
that's a lot of mental fatigue. Maybe not as much physical, but a lot of mental fatigue that you're taking into that match. You've just been dealing with that. An hour later, you're running out onto a pitch trying to control a bunch of guys playing a full-time sport.
But there was also the physical fatigue as well, because you worked all day. So then my training sessions was 6:30 till 8 o'clock at night. So then you weren't getting home until 9 o'clock. Then you're trying to find a bit of snap to do. You're trying to recover, and then all of a sudden, when we became full-time, we trained during the day, in the morning. We'd have 2 or 3 massages a week. We did absolutely everything. We had nutritionists, we had physios, we had conditioners. So all of a sudden, you had to step up your game, because this was now your full-time environment. Yeah. It was wonderful. Oh, my God. I literally couldn't wait to go to bed at night to get up and go to work in the morning. And that's how lucky and privileged
that big a difference.
Felt. Absolutely. Yeah, that's how it felt to me.
So you described quite a few differences there with the full-time environment. Just talk a little bit more about that. I'm interested to, one day you're part-time, you're going to work, there's a change of contract, a year after, all full-time. What are the major differences, and how did that impact your experience as a referee?
We had a full pre-season, so even though we started in December, funnily enough, I was 40 on December the 7th, and we started on December the 8th full-time. So we had a full pre-season to get our fitness levels up. So we had a full-time conditioner, and we would do hill sprints, we'd do track sessions, we'd do the nutritional side of it. We had new rules brought in, because we tend to change the rules on quite regular basis. And then, but a lot of it was about physicality. We went to Perpignan, we went to south of France for a warm weather training. Warm weather training. Freezing. Oh my God. Perpignan. Well, you're at foothills at Pyrenees. It's beautiful. But my God, it was cold. So we did all these, and we had to do naked swimming, Mediterranean. Well, Mediterranean in the middle of December, it's cold, But it was great, and also because even though all the other referees, because we refereed individually on different games, we only came together once a week for training. So all of a sudden, we roomed together, we trained together. We pretty much lived together for that week's training, obviously. Then every single day we were in training. So we got to know each other better. We got to know the little idiosyncrasies, little foibles, the things that you might like about a person, the things you might not like about a person, and who you gravitated towards, who was more your personality. So that was difficult, to be honest, because there's only one grand final, only one Challenge Cup final.
Yeah, and you all want them. So is that helpful, that peer support, though? Having that peer support? Did you have that before when you were semi-professional?
We had a coaching staff. Stuart Cummins headed up the coaching staff. But I think because you only got together once a week, or sometimes 3 times a month, everybody wanted the coach's attention. So even though you did your own personal review and you emailed it in, and then you got some feedback, because the amount of games and the amount of feedback that the coaches needed to give, you were only getting snippets. So when we did meet up at training, you were all really vying for that little bit of attention, because it can be quite insecure. You make your decision on a Thursday Sky game or a Friday. Well, they were Friday and Saturday then. That has a massive consequence on your review on a Monday and the appointments on a Tuesday.
Right.
So you're like, oh God, did that go forward? Was it a knock on? Oh, I hope that doesn't get picked up.
Your inner critique is kicking off.
You're inner critiquing already, and that inner critique doesn't kick off and then till Tuesday when you get your next appointment. And that appointment, thank God for that. I'm in Super League this week, so they must have picked it up. So sometimes you were hoping that the one camera angle would not pick up a mistake. Yeah. And you get the review and you think, they won't know. They won't know that's a knock-on.
So that selection process there that you're saying, if that went against you, what would you end up? Would you like Super League one day and then you're in the Championship?
Yeah. Right, okay. So especially in the early days, because especially in the early days, because like I mentioned just off camera before, there was some fantastic referees. There was some unbelievably elite Super League refs, and also the Championship part-time refs. Well, they were all part-time at that time. But even the Grade 1 who did the Championship and the League 1, they could jump up into Super League. So you couldn't wait for your appointment to go, oh, thank God for that, I'm still in Super League. But yeah, you'd, and if you made such a massive mistake, and you were in championship, you could end up being there for 3 or 4 or 5 weeks.
Right.
Yeah.
And that emotional, because again, that inner critique, and, why did I make that mistake? I thought I was in a good position, and
you beat yourself up.
You beat yourself up, yeah.
So does it feel a bit like Monopoly? It's like go to jail, do not pass go.
Sometimes, yeah, sometimes, and my girlfriend, bless her, she'd know as soon as I walked in the door, she'd know what sort of a game I'd had.
Right.
Whether we were on Sky. Well, she never watched me when we were on Sky anyway. She never came to any games. I'm lying there. She came to 2, and I got that much abuse.
She didn't want to see it.
She said, I'm sorry, I'm never coming again.
Yeah.
It was like...
So
it's not for when somebody who loves you, is it, to be a referee?
Yeah. So if I made a mistake on Friday night, our weekend were written off. She'd say, should we go out Saturday? Don't feel like
you were down.
Don't feel like it. Down. And, she stuck with that. And then when you retire, you just realise just how much that 24/7 has an impact on people around you.
Other people, yeah.
And I think if I was to have it again, I'd enjoy them now. I think I'd really enjoy each week and understand that as human beings, we will make mistakes. Referees will make mistakes. Players make mistakes. And there's something I might talk about later on about the difference in a player making a mistake and a referee making a mistake, and talking about the being dropped and not being dropped. But, it's a mistake environment. A referee will make 25,000 judgments in 80 minutes.
Yeah.
We have GPS, and I would run 11 kilometres in 80 minutes. Yeah.
You're going to get some wrong.
My average heart rate was 155 beats per minute for 80 minutes. That's average. It would max out 178. I'd even kick the game off 134.
Blimey.
My resting heart rate, because of the physical fitness we did, it was high 40s, low 50s.
Yeah.
So when you've got 3 times the amount of adrenaline surging around your body, and in 79th minute you miss a forward pass, marginal forward that leads to a match winning try, and you've somebody feet up watching you at home on Sky or on BBC or whatever, and thinking, well, you absolute so and so.
Yeah. They've watched it back 3 or 4 times,
and you are the one to blame.
Oh, absolutely. Well, you're not going to blame your heroes, are you?
No.
And everybody watches it blinkered. Some are massively blinkered, but the only people on that field that have no vested interest on the outcome of the result is the match officials. Couldn't care less. People say, "Oh, you wanted Wigan to win, or you wanted." I couldn't care less. Absolutely could not care less who won that game.
That's interesting. You've made a number of really interesting points I'd like to dig in with. I think as a player, sometimes fans will say, "Oh, it's only a friendly, so you're not giving your all." But I think when the player takes a field, in their mind, when that ball's kicked off, they don't know the difference between a friendly, a final, a semi-final, a regular round. You're playing rugby. Your instinct kicks in. Is that similar with the referee then? You take the field, you don't see a Wigan top, a Leeds top, a Castleford top. You just see players and judgments.
Yeah, you do. But ultimately, my performances would have more of an impact on me. So because I couldn't care less who won. If I give a bad decision that meant that Castleford won, it wasn't that Castleford won. It was the fact that decision would have an impact on my appointment the following week.
Yeah.
I don't want to say it was about me, because it's not, because that's what people say. It's about the ref. It's not. But the impact on every decision would impact on me because of the consequence of that next appointment.
And I don't think people, or certainly fans, will see or understand that. I think we accept that players play the game, they come off thinking, where did they go wrong? Have I done enough to get me place next week? No one thinks of the referee having that same inner turmoil or self-judgment and development points that players have. They just imagine it doesn't happen. They probably don't realise the emotional turmoil on the referee as well, that they put themselves under, and that the fans can, through the frustration, put the referee under. And you've described that really well, how that works. So how did you start to try and combat that or work with it?
I don't think I ever combated it, if I'm being honest. I think if I'd have been as emotionally and mentally strong then as I am now, I think I'd have had a totally different mindset. I think I'd have understood and realised that it is a mistake game. The amount of decisions that you make in a game, you're going to get some wrong. And don't always listen to the critics that have no idea and no concept of what it's actually like to be in the middle. Because let's be right, if it was easy, everybody'd do it.
Yeah, most definitely.
You know, and
I wouldn't
it's
be a referee
not
for a goal clock.
It's not.
No. A few £100 maybe, but not a goal clock. Who wants a goal clock?
Mind you, did mention a couple of massages, so I'm thinking of
Yeah, that'd be nice. No, I take your point though. I mean, refereeing is a very isolated, I think. You're sort of out there on your own very often. I know you've got the touch judges and now there's a video referee, but you're still out there making the judgments in real time. And I'm sure that it must feel quite isolated at times.
Absolutely. And also, when a team play together, all the team want to win because the points gets them to grand finals and the wins in knockouts gets them to Challenge Cup finals, etc., etc. But my decisions, there's only one grand final for the referee. There's only one Challenge Cup final. There's only one Four Nations. And so even though you really, really try to create a team culture and a team ethic, still only one grand final. Yeah. So there's still, of the 6 full-time referees, there was 5 of us was going to miss out on that grand final. Yeah. 5 of us were going to miss out on that Challenge Cup final. Yeah. So there's jealousy, there's envy, there's a little bit of anger at times when you look at your appointments, but all those referees, we all think we're a hell of a lot better than we actually probably are. And I don't mean that detrimental, but when the coaches see every game, and then they can compare like for like, but as a referee, again, we're blinkered. Mm-hmm. So, I think, that was a really poor mistake by the other referee. Why have they still got a game and I haven't? Right. But you've not really looked at it as constructively because we're human beings and that inner critique of ourselves and others kicks in.
You make an initial judgment, but when you sit back and think about it, sometimes we see things differently,
Absolutely.
Don't we? Yeah. Did you think it was quite a lonely job at times?
Yeah, very much so. Yeah. Probably more lonelier than I thought. But some of that is only retrospective. We talk about mental fitness, and obviously I work for Stay Mind Sport mental health charity, so we go around and talk. And some of it, like I spoke about the impact of making a bad decision on a Friday and how that would impact my social life, my family life. I think at the time, when you're in that goldfish bowl, you don't realise it's only after and it's gone, and you just think, my God, was I that bad to live with? Was I that horrendous? And it's all of the consequences after the event, you realise how much it had an impact. So at the time, I was living the dream. Really was living the dream. A sport that I love, a job that I loved, but I only seen when to talk about some of the negatives about it, but it was a fantastic lifestyle. Yeah. But it's only retrospective. You realise just how much of an impact it does have on your loneliness and your vulnerabilities at times.
Just touching on that then, did that ever spill over into your, like you say, your personal, your social life? If you was out and about and there's been a game at the weekend, was there any ever sort of like abuse towards you walking down the high street or?
Oh, absolutely. Oh, yeah. Yeah, my girlfriend, she would say, somebody looking at you over there. So you won't get, and I'd say, and somebody come over and say, excuse me, do you mind me asking, are you Ian Smith? Now, don't think that I'm famous by any stretch, but the Rugby League Goldfish Ball is a goldfish ball.
Yes, it is.
You're well known within that group.
So within that goldfish ball.
We call it a family, but sometimes it's a goldfish ball.
So they said, excuse me, do you mind me asking, are you Ian Smith? And I'd say, it all depends who you support, And they'd say, I'm Huddersfield Giants. Oh, yeah, I am. And they said, no, I'm definitely not. All FC, no, don't know him, never heard of him, So sometimes they'd break it down like that, but then you'd have others, and especially around game day, especially if you were like in Perpignan, because when you referee Catalan Dragons, which I did often, you fly over with the team at the time, and you'd have supporters on, and then the night before, you'd try and find a quiet restaurant to have a bite to eat to get ready, and then the night after, and oh God,
you just couldn't get away from it.
No, and you'd be the day of the game, you'd try and go into the market and just have a drink and have a chill and just relax. You'd have people saying, Ian, can I take a picture with the old inmate Ulky Arsha? And you said, no. Oh, don't be so miserable. No, because if when that gets out on social media, then I'm holding, I'm there smiling, holding an Ulky Arsha. Do you not think that will come back to bite me on the ass?
I knew it. I knew he sported Ulky Ar.
But then when I'll have a photograph taken with you, but I'm not putting your scarf. I'm not putting your scarf around my neck.
Your colours. Can't wear the colours.
And then you're trying to watch out your preference of his mate coming behind you.
Absolutely, yeah. So sometimes you had to avoid it then. But the vast majority, the vast majority were fantastic. But in every walk of life, you always get the small minority. And unfortunately, we listen to the small minority. We give them credence, we give them airtime. You know, all the abuse that goes on social media now, they do it because they want a reaction. If you don't react and they've no audience,
you don't feed that. Yeah.
you don't feed that, they won't react. You know, with Prince Philip dying, you know, some of the horrendous messages, and they only put it, and then you see that there's about 100 people replied, but if they didn't get one reply for their
It would
abusive,
die out.
it would die.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That meme would go. That
It-
comment would go.
Yeah. It's just so sad.
Yeah, there's a lot of pressure with social media. It's changed, I think, how pressure is on people in life and in positions, and maybe we'll touch upon that a little bit later when we talk about the state of mind. But naturally flowing from that conversation then, what do you remember about your earliest games as a professional referee? Your very first sort of half dozen games, how did they feel? How did they go?
Well, I got in Superleague in '99, and I refereed Salford versus London Broncos down in London, and Martin of Fire was on the wing, Sean Edwards was scrum half, and it
Season pros,
it was wonderful, but my God, it was quick.
was it?
You just couldn't realise that from Championship to Super League, the jump was just huge. Your speed of thought, your speed, you know, Sean Edwards was a legend anyway, you know, but he'd done something before you knew. You know, you look at all the great players, your Wally Lewises, your Alan Langers and your Andy Gregorys, and they're not particularly quick, they're not particularly fast physically, but the brain, they're already
ahead.
through the gap before you know that they're through the gap.
Yeah.
You know, and that was the thing that was really noticeable. I felt I was behind my decision because every time you blow the whistle, people look at you. So you've got to be quick, and that's why I think players transitioning from being a professional player to professional referee, to me, it's like speaking a different language, English and French. So as a referee, it came into me, the decision, as English, and I would deliver it in English. But as a player, it comes in because their first train of thought is as a player. So it's almost like speaking a different language.
Yeah.
It comes in French, and then I've got to translate it
I see what
into
you mean.
English and give it out. So
Yeah.
as a player, they've got to see what it feels like as a player, then translate it into what it should be as a referee.
Yeah.
Because we're not always on the same page, you know, players and refs.
Yeah.
I'm just going to throw that one out there. Yeah, just in case you didn't know.
I've noticed. Yeah, so they're almost looking at it from a player's perspective, and you're looking at it as a judgment against a rule book.
Yeah.
And so for them, transitioning isn't really as natural as people would imagine.
No, it's not. No, you know, even though I played amateur, the first thing I did as a referee, it worked. So I was
Right.
I was a referee in
More
players'
so.
clothes. That's
Yeah.
it. We're players now transitioning from being a professional player to a professional referee. They're still referees, you know. They're still players
Right.
in a referee's kit rather than
Yeah.
the other way around. And I think that's why some have really struggled. Jamie Bloom, you know, he took up refereeing and he was getting somewhere, but you could always see that he was a player. You
Yeah.
know, Chris Campbell, you know, Dave Campbell's son, you know,
Yeah.
Chris was a decent player, became a referee. And it was just a little bit on the slow side at translating that decision into, because you blow the whistle, everybody looks at you. So you blow, phew, what's that for? It's for offside. You know, so everything was so natural for referees, and that's what the best referees, bang, like a best players, they just have that decision immediately.
Yeah.
Don't have to think about it because they know it's in the DNA. They can see it before it even happens on a lot of the best refs.
That's something I've never thought about before. I mean, we talk about it with coaches, that not all good players make good coaches because they're not a natural coach, not a natural leader. They may be great players. I'd never thought that was something similar with referees.
Mhm.
It's a good insight
Really
that,
good input. Yeah.
that I'd never thought of before. So you've got Sean Edwards and Martin of Fire, and you've just started out. You're looking at these heroes. Do you feel a bit of extra pressure for those big names?
Yeah. I remember refereeing Alan Langer. Bradford played at Valley Parade for a while. I don't know whether Oddsall was being done up, but they played at Bradford
Yes, I
City's
remember,
ground. And it was very early 2000s, and I remember refereeing Alan Langer when he played at Warrington against Bradford. And I just didn't pull him for offside. He was still in front of me the whole game. And the assessor had to give me a right bollocking because he said, "Why? I can't.
Alan Langer.
I can't. You just can't. You can't penalise Alan Langer."
It's too
And
good
there
to
was-
Is
penalise.
it like Taffy? Excuse me. Alan.
Yeah, there was once I realised that actually I was a better referee than he is.
Yeah.
and I had the right to be on that pitch.
Yeah.
And then you've got to, look. I'm a fan of rugby league as well, so a lot of them, the people that I was refereeing, were literally my heroes.
Yeah.
So you've got to take that hero worship away from it and realise that when they're on that field, you've got a job to do. So it quickly got stamped out of me. And the next time I referee Warrington, I pinged him about 3 or 4 times. It felt so good. I said, that's 2 from this game, and that's 2 from the game before.
You were offside a month ago.
Yeah. You didn't get back in 1999.
I just kicked off. I just kicked the ball offside.
Yeah, what a legend he was, Alan Langer.
Fantastic. Yeah, very lucky. And another one who played at Catalan, Stacey Jones.
Yeah.
It was just awesome to be on the pitch and listen to him and see him. And the referee's got the best seat in the house.
Best view.
Best view. Yeah, and it's just wonderful to hear them hits and to listen to it and the the banter in inverted commas between the players, but just see the absolute unbelievable skill set that they have, the tackle tech. It's just phenomenal, absolutely unbelievable, and it was a pleasure, an honour and a privilege to be on that field with them.
What about big hits? And you've spoken about some of those guile players, those talented players who can see things. What about the big hits that go on? And when you're close to them, do they hurt when you're watching them?
Oh, yeah. You can hear it, you can feel it, and I love the shoulder charge. I was gutted when they dropped it. I understand why. It was what they should have done was just ban shoulder charges to the head, not shoulder charges per se, because it was shoulder charges to the head that's a problem. Not literally rotating and leading with your shoulder. So what they should have done was just give so much longer and harsher bans for the legal ones and allow we all remember Sam Burgess when he hit Fui Moi Moi in the England-New Zealand test match where they both running at 30 miles an hour and he turned and he knocked him into next week.
Still a teenager, I think.
Absolutely. And it was just an incredible tackle. And even now I can feel the hairs on the back of my neck stood up. Why would we want to ban that? But then not everybody did it like Sam Burgess. You get some who'd lead direct contact. They'd break a jaw, they'd break a cheekbone, and concussion, and now with all the head protocols, I understand why they got rid of it, but they should have just got rid of it, the send-off in the Leeds St Helens Challenge Cup game.
We were speaking about that this morning.
It's late, but a late tackle is not necessarily a send-off. It's late, and it's the high shoulder contact direct to the head of a defensive player that is the send-off. Yeah. If he'd have just hit him late, round the waist, around the chest, it's just a penalty.
Yeah. We've discussed this before, there's probably no 2 tackles exactly the same. So when we're looking for consistency from referees and from disciplinary panels, it's quite difficult because people will try to compare. I often think, well, we're not entirely sure. You've got to make a judgment on the intent, on the force, on how high it was, on how late it was. It can be just slightly late, a bit of mistiming, or it can be a few seconds and you know that there was intent there because it could be that late. So how you only get one shot at that when you're on the field, don't you? How do you try to make the right judgment?
Just through 10,000 hours of practice, seeing the same thing week in, week out, looking at the key indicators, and when you talk about consistency, I don't know whether you read my Twitter feed yesterday, but people were saying about the send-off in the St Helens Leeds game. Well, what about the cannonball the week before from, I can't remember the player. Yeah, but you're comparing apples and oranges. Yeah. You've just hit the nail on there. No 2 tackles are the same, but a lot of them have the same key indicators. So you look at them indicators, you quickly process in your brain, is it careless? In that way, it's probably just a penalty. Is it reckless? Reckless with direct contact and with force can be a yellow or a red card, or is it deliberate? Deliberate with force and direct contact is a red card. So you quickly analyse that, bang, 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 and then you either pull your red card out, or you pull your yellow card out, or you wait for the video ref to give you input. Which, when I refereed, even though I had video refs, the video ref could not give me input on foul play, which ended up finishing my career, but that's another story.
So that is a couple of seconds decision, and that's a heavy decision because that can change the impact of a game. Especially certainly for one team, a disadvantage. If a player's gone for good on a red. So that's again, we go back to pressure. That's a lot of pressure as a referee to quickly, in seconds, analyse all that and make your decision, stand by it, and go.
Well, I think one of your questions is your most memorable game.
Yeah.
And you know, we were talking about the Ben Flower hit on Lance Hire, but that's not my most memorable game as a referee. My most memorable game as a referee was my last one, and that just ties in with this foul play. I had a video ref. It was Hull versus Leeds in September 2010. If you want to get the footage is on YouTube. And 9 minutes into this game, Lee Radford stands up at the tackle and banjos Ryan Bailey.
Yeah.
Stands up, cuffs him, blood pouring down his face. So it was a little bit of a melee. Even though I had a video ref, the video ref then couldn't give me any input on foul play. So I gets my touch judges on. I said, right, I've seen Lee Radford punch Ryan Bailey. Have you anything to add? No. So I sends him off. So I'm given a penalty signal, and they're showing a replay on the big screen. And what it showed was Ryan Bailey, the bugger, just before Lee had stood up and punched him, he'd elbowed him in the face on the floor. But I've got several players in my line of sight.
So you
just didn't see it.
Yeah.
Didn't see it. Just an absolute genuine mistake. There was a really big crowd because it was an end of season game, and so they now show the whole replay on the big screen. So can you imagine what 15,000 Hull fans are now saying
For the
about
rest
Ian
of the
Smith?
game.
So 71 minutes, and Leeds scored 2 late tries and won the game. So as the final whistle goes, my God, the level of abuse. And it was a police game, and the police could not guarantee me safe passage to my car.
Really?
You talk about loneliness, you talk about vulnerability, you talk about the emotional state of a referee. They had to bring my car into the stadium. I had to give a policeman my car key, brought it into the stadium, and they had to take me through an internal corridor to get me safely away from the stadium. So this is what we're talking about. This is sport.
Yeah.
This is not life or death. And
I know,
you can't guarantee the referee safe passage to his car. I've never picked a whistle up to this day.
Was that your decision then, Ian, from that point?
The moons aligned, if you like.
Okay.
I just didn't deal with that level of abuse. And Stuart Cummins at the time offered me a way out to become a coach of the full-time and the championship refs.
Yeah.
So it was like, say, all the moons aligned. You know, if that decision hadn't happened, I don't think he'd have asked me, and I don't think. Well, I know now I wouldn't have finished then.
Yeah.
But because I didn't finish on my own terms, that is, you know, I've still got a knot the size of a fist in my stomach because of that. Yeah.
Unfinished business. Is that how it feels?
Unfinished. And I'll never ever get that back.
Right.
And sometimes, you know, you talk about that try that you scored at Sheddings all
Yeah,
years ago that was disallowed.
Yeah.
You know, I'll never get that opportunity back. And sometimes it's that anger and frustration. But that's what life's about.
But like you say, you didn't have the beauty at that time. We didn't have, you know, in that moment, you've got players in front of you. You've seen what you've seen. Now they have the assistance of the video ref who can call and say what had gone on. In that moment, when you look up at that screen, what did you think then?
I'm not allowed to swear, am I?
You can, yeah.
I thought, shit.
Yeah.
I thought, shit. I've got 71 minutes, and I knew I'd made a mistake.
Right.
And I knew I'd made, you know, Lee Radford a bloody good second rower.
Yeah.
And
did he contest? Did he say?
Yeah, he said, "What about the elbow?"
Right.
He just said that. Well, I didn't see an elbow. I just saw you.
And I just said, "No, off you go. You want me red card out? Off you go." And then it's only when I copped the replay that you think he was right.
Yeah.
Did any of the Hull players come and speak to you about it after the sending off and say, "What were you playing at? He took an elbow."
No, not really, because it was all a bit manic.
Chaotic.
Yeah. And I remember watching it and listening to the commentary, and I lived next door to Barry McDermott for quite a few years even when I refed him, because Barry's an Oldham lad like I, and I've just got so much admiration and respect for Barry McDermott. But when I'm watching it, Barry said, "I hope he's not going to send him off. I hope the referee is not going to spoil this game." And I remember them words. Well, hang on a minute. It wasn't me that decided to stand up and punch somebody and cut their eye. It wasn't me that decided to take the law into his own hand. He would have always been sent off.
Retaliation.
The retaliation was disproportionate from what the original offence was.
Yeah.
So Lee Radford would have always been sent off. The thing is, I never did anything with Ryan Bailey because I didn't see it. what I should have done was
10 minutes for Ryan.
10 minutes. That's all it was worth. In them days, it was an elbow to his face. It was 10 minutes.
Yeah.
The result could have been the same. It might not have been. We don't know. But unfortunately, if you're both Hull FC fans and your DNA is Hull FC, then the villain of this piece is Ian Smith. And do you know something? I'm going to tell him.
You feel victimised. Those fans felt victimised as a team. You've sent our guy off, but you've let them get away with an elbow. And that's how they're feeling at that moment.
And you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to stand outside the players and officials entrance, and when he comes out, he's having it. I'll tell him. And there were that many. The police just said, we cannot guarantee you safe passage to your car. Now,
you're a human being.
You know what I mean?
You're doing a job.
It's a sport, but
why did they ever say why they couldn't ensure safe passage?
Because there was a few stewards, there were a few police, because the way that Hull Leeds had won the game. The stewards and police were trying to keep the other fans. They're trying to literally keep the peace. They were. So they just
you're on your own.
And I don't. I'm sure you've been to Casey. The car park's massive, and where they put the match officials, it's a bloody good walk. You know, it's not like I opened the players and
walking the mile.
Yeah, it's not like you just open the players and officials entrance door and my car's there. You know, not the Queen. So
there's no red carpet back to your car.
No, unfortunately not. No, there could have been, but it had been my blood.
There was no confetti cannons, just cannons out there.
Just cannons.
So
sorry, Keith. That's one of the games that you remember. It's your last one.
That's my most memorable game for unfortunately for all the wrong reasons.
There must be other games that you really remember, hopefully for more positive reasons. Can you talk us through any of those?
Look, I've been very lucky to have refereed at elite level of a sport that I loved, and it's offered me opportunity to travel the world. You know, I've refereed in the Luzhniki Stadium in Moscow.
Wow.
You know, where Alan Wells won his gold medal back in the 80s. You know, that was tremendous. To go to Russia for a week, I refereed. There was a four nations tournament. There's the Bala, the English amateur team, against America, France, and Russia. You know, and it was tremendous. You know, I refereed America versus France. It was wonderful to be in that. You know, believe it or not, I've refereed in Lebanon versus France. And Azim Al-Masri was the Lebanon captain, you know, they play for Ganterville Bulldogs, and still, I think he's a record goal point scorer in the NRL, and he was the captain. Now, in Lebanon, you've got Beirut, that's the capital, then you've also got Tripoli, which is, you know, people think Tripoli is in Libya. It's not, it is, but it's also the second city in Lebanon. So it's about 80 kilometres north, so that's where the game was. It was it was packed. It was absolutely packed.
Yeah.
You know, so, you know, I've been to Beirut for a week, and it was a wonderful opportunity. Honestly, it was an absolutely incredible weekend. They treated me like a king. It was wonderful. The people were so friendly, and it was just a great, and it was a wonderful atmosphere. And yeah, Lebanon beat France. It was a great game, and I loved it. Been to South Africa twice. I've been to Australia, New Zealand, some of the places that I've been around the world because of this fantastic sport. So it's just afforded me so many wonderful opportunities. And if anybody wants to get into refereeing, I know I've spoke about the negativity, but it's not. It's still a wonderful career that I will really, you know, ask anybody to do if they want to.
Well, hopefully some of those stories that you've shared and those positive things, the travel will help inspire more young referees to join our great sport, hopefully. We'll keep trying to promote that. You were also the video ref in 2013. That's quite a memorable grand final. In the early stages, certainly. It was a great game, but talk us through some of those early stages.
Wigan Saints, the legendary Ben Flower Lancer Hire send-off. Can I just do the prelude to it in the changing rooms?
Talk us through that,
I was video ref. Phil Bentham was the referee, and at Old Trafford grand final day, the ref changing rooms not that massive, and there's a lot of officials, a lot of the anger honourers is the wrong word, but you've got the camera people, the sound. So I just got myself out of the way because I didn't need to change, because all I needed was my suit, which I already had. So I went up and down the changing room just because I was in awe of being at Old Trafford in a grand final, you know, and nervous as well because a video ref has a huge,
still a big part,
still a huge part. I remember outside the Wigan changing room, and Sean Wayne was absolutely, because he wears his heart on his sleeve, didn't
Yeah.
it? You know, and he
Yeah.
was bawling and shouting about, you know, let's get stuck into him. Ben Flower, you're the hardest man in there. And even me, I could feel my adrenaline surging. Well,
Pumping.
obviously, Ben, unfortunately, 40 seconds into that game, must have took it
Literally.
must have took it literally when he tried to prove that he was the hardest man. And I just think, the chimp paradox, the mist, whatever you want to call it, it had just descended and he lost it. And I know as video ref, you have a lot of different cameras in the booth that we have, and they have cameras in the changing room, and literally after the mist had gone and the chimp had gone back in its box, whatever you want to say, Ben's literally got his hands in his head in the changing room once he realised the
What
magnitude of what he'd done. And rugby league is an incredibly aggressive sport, like boxing is, like all these things, but you have laws. You can be aggressive without being illegal.
Yeah.
You can challenge, you can beat people up without doing it illegally.
Yeah.
You can be aggressive without being illegally. And unfortunately, Ben, and we used to have codes at the time. The video ref couldn't say, that's a send-off. We used to have codes, it's serious. So I wasn't sure whether Phil Bentham had seen it. And I'm saying, Phil, are you listening to me? Yeah, Ian, it's serious. He said, yeah, I think it is. I said, no, I'm not just saying it's serious. It doesn't get any more serious. It's as serious as it's going to be. It's
really serious.
It's really, really, really serious. He said, I've seen it in. Don't worry. I know what I'm doing. I said, right, thank God for that.
So we saw
the
it.
one thing I didn't want to do was put it on report. I'd say, get a yellow card out,
Yeah.
Even now you can just say, look, as a video ref, I think it's a red card. The
So you
referee,
can say.
yeah, they can, yeah. You just say, I've seen the replays. It's direct contact to the head. It's a red card. The referee ultimately said, I'm not seeing it like that, and do whatever, but the video ref will give input. And then at review on a Monday, the video ref, the ref's coach will get together and they'll listen to the audio and see that and say, why did you say that's a send-off when it's only a yellow card?
Right.
Or why did you only use a yellow card when the video ref clearly saw replays and decided it was a red? And that's the dialogue that...
So you've got a debate and you can discuss it
debate.
and come up with hopefully a better way.
And as much as they want to be consistent, you hit the nail on the head of 10, 15 minutes ago. No two tackles are the same. No two foul play are the same. There are indicators and there are tariffs and there are things that are definitely red card, are definitely yellow card, are definitely play on. And it's up to the referees and the coaches and the video ref to come up with that right call and then let the match review panel do what they do.
So try and come up with those key indicators at that time.
Absolutely.
Process that based on your experience
Process
and make that judgment. But that was quite an iconic sort of start to any match, certainly a grand final. So I think most people will have seen it. But what's your experience? You've sat there very early in the game, you're sitting down, just about to be video referee for a big match. Right, I'll settle in here. Be a while until I've got a judgment. And then
you take your time, Phil. We're all right.
Yeah,
just give me a video ref just before half time.
You've just made a cuppa. Make it an easy one. Yeah. Got your feet up, and before you know it, within seconds, there's been something's happened. What's going through your mind? Talk us through the incident first of all.
Well, originally you only really saw the king hit that knocked him down, and then the king hit when he was on the ground. You didn't really see the prelude to it. Now, as the kick went into the corner, Ben Flowers turned around and he's actually, cuffed Lance High around the head. So Lance High thought, hang on a minute, you're not doing that to me. So he's punched him.
Yeah.
And then Ben Flowers gone back. So as a video ref, I see all that. And, we talked about heart rate, 155. I think, as a video ref, my heart rate will be up a little bit, but all of a sudden, it goes through the roof. Yeah. But then I think what you don't like is the dubious ones. This was not dubious.
No, it was clear.
All of a sudden, when you saw it, my heart rate could come back down because once I knew that Phil was sending him off, it was like,
we're not going to be questioning.
I can sit back and have another coffee because it was so clearly an easy decision.
Yeah.
It's the ones where you think, is this a yellow or is this a red? Because I've got, I remember it. Once it took me 5 minutes, 10 seconds to come up with a video call in a playoff game, and I got absolutely pilloried. Pillar
taking
to
so
post,
long.
taking so long. But it was one of them where it was a crossfield kick, so you had to do onside, offside. There was a challenge in mid-air, then there was a knockback, then there was a possible push. There was so many
moving parts to it.
Oh, so many moving parts to it. And I had to tick each one off, and I wasn't sure. And then the producer said, "I've got another angle here," and you think, "Oh, I don't want another angle," you know, and then you get another angle which might
have to look again.
I'm not sure now. I've seen that angle. Really.
Well, I thought on you.
5 minutes, and 5 minutes 10 seconds, you know, and from that we actually changed the protocols because they had to lie and say, right, we have not got anything better, because there were times where, God bless them, Sky would hold a replay back. And then you give a decision, and then they show the replay, and you think, "Hang on a minute, you never give me. If you'd have given me that at the time, you know." so we said, you know, we used to have a thing where, "Have you got any other replays?" "No, that's all we've got." "Right, I will now make my decision." So you know, things evolve. But at the time, your stress levels are so through the roof, but now we can have a laugh about it because
time's passed and
memories, you know.
Yeah.
So I just want to touch on as well, before we talk about your state of mind work and stuff like that. You mentioned earlier on, you have the best seats in the house for like banter between the players, the banter with yourself from the players. Is there any moments that stand out where you think, do you know what, that was a cracking little...
Oh, do you know what? The worst thing that happened was when they mic'd us up.
Right.
Pre-mics that they got on telly.
Yeah.
You know, you could have a little bit of, you know, industrial language, you know, but there were times where players would come up to you and start swearing, you go, "Oh, I'm on the mic," and they go, sorry, you know. And even when I were on telly and you weren't on the mic, you'd say, "Oh, I'm on the mic," and they, "Oh, sorry." so you could kid them, you know, because even though you mic'd up for a non-TV game, that only just goes to your audio for when you review on a Monday. It doesn't go out to the masses. Obviously, the Sky one does. So if you weren't on telly, you could still say to players, if they were coming up to you wanting to swear, you say, "Oh, hey, I'm on the mic. I'm on the. You put your hand up. I'm on the mic."
Down a bit.
"Oh, sorry," but no, I just think I seen Barry McDermott when he made 3 illegal tackles one after another when he played at Widnes. When him and Terry O'Connor went there at the back end of his career, they kicked off against Lee. Lee run the ball out. Barry, high tackle, nothing malicious, penalty. Keep him down, Baz. Yeah, another one, high tackle, kick to touch, run it in, another high tackle. So I brought him out, brought Terry O'Connor out, who was captain at the time. I said, "Right, Tez," I said, "we've only had 2 tackles, 2 high tackles from 2. No. Tell him, calm it down. I might as well talk to you as captain rather than Barry, because obviously the mist is up there. You know, otherwise I might have to sit him down." "Yeah, no problem." Went back 10 metres, kicked to touch, went in, Barry, bang, high tackle again, get me yellow card out. "There you go, Baz." As he's passing me, tapped me on the arse, he said, "Thanks for God for that, I'm knackered."
Can you make it 20?
Yeah, we'd done 3 tackles, 3, you know, bang, gone. So
I remember, actually, I probably shouldn't say this, but as an amateur, I played against Barry. I played against Terry as well. And we're in a game, and my coach, he inflated my chimp. He went, "Barry McDermott, he's causing all the play. He's causing us mayhem. He needs taking out." What he meant was close him down. Don't give him the space. Be up in his face. I just heard he needs taking out. So Barry comes steaming in. I come in with an arm, flatten Barry, and he was
surprised,
intimidating. Barry was intimidating as a young lad at 15. He was still quite a big player. Yeah. Anyway, he's on the floor. And the ref's like going around, "Who did that?" The ref didn't see it. Looking, who did that? And I'm stood at the side of the ref going, I don't know. And Barry started to get up and looked at me, and I went, "It was me."
You go like that? So go to someone else?
Yeah. I was like, "Thanks."
Yeah.
See you later.
Yeah, you were either very brave or very stupid. Or a bit of both.
It was all going through. It was all going through at the time.
I played against him as well, and the first time I came across him, I didn't know his name, but I played at Saints A team just as a trialist. And we'd played against, I think it was sort of Lancashire under-21s or something like that. They played some of the reserve sides as a prep for getting into the amateur Great Britain team or something like that. So I played second row. And I remember this guy sort of running in, and he's really stood up. And being quite tall, I used to like that because I could get my angle right with me tackling. I thought, oh, he's running at an angle here that's making it easy for me. I can just tip my shoulder as normal as my tackling style, and I'll topple him. The next thing I remember is playing the ball over me and smiling in my face. If you watch him back, he often smiles, doesn't he, after he smashed someone. He has that like grin on his face as if to say, "I've done you."
Yeah.
And I must have been knocked out for just a split second, thinking, what on earth has just hit me? I thought I was good at tackling, and this guy's just absolutely, the power was unbelievable. And when we went back to the change rooms afterwards, it's before they moved, it was at Knowsley Road when they used to use the original tunnel. It's just small changing rooms, weren't they? And I went to the team sheet. They used to have a team sheet. Barry McDermott. I thought I'll remember that name because he hit me so hard. And
was a hard player.
Oh, and I played with him again when we went to Oldham because he was a young lad then. He was playing in the reserves, but he was in the first team in the reserves. And it was great lining up with him because you knew, wow, if we got Barry in the team, everyone else was more confident because he was so physical. But there was another edge to that as well because you thought, but he's going to create mayhem on that field that we're all going to have to deal with, not just Barry.
Yeah, the fine line between shoulder and neck and head.
Yeah.
And he didn't always know which side he was going on.
But he was a brilliant player. Yeah. Brilliant. And such a nice guy off the field, such a pleasant person.
Absolute gentleman. Like I say, I lived next door to him for a while, and him and his family, they're wonderful. And I think even though we have to make the game safer because of the concussion and the head knocks and what that can lead to, you miss that biff.
Yeah.
You know, you miss that Barry Mike Stuart Field and, you know, gauntlets down and having a good old, you know. And
want an edge. There needs to be a bit of an edge to it.
And I've never refereed in this sanitised game. You know, every time I refereed, there was always some form of fighting. Sometimes that was because I caused it. You know, I refereed Wigan Saints when Terry Newton, God bless him, broke Sean Long's jaw. And it was that long after the pass had gone. I think I'd given the try in the corner, and all of a sudden the crowd went up. It was.
I think my Uncle Sid was actually trying to climb over the boys' pen to get to you.
Yeah. It doesn't surprise me, and it taught me quite a valuable lesson. Is that just because somebody stood over a body, if you don't see him actually fire the gun, you know, you can still assume. You know. So after that, bless him, you know, me and Terry had a bit of a love-hate relationship. But that might bring us onto State of Mind Sport, because it was unfortunately off the back of Terry's tragic suicide that the charity that I now work for started. There was nothing in place for rugby league. You know, all these hard macho alpha male who, if you show weakness, if you show weakness on the field, you get targeted, don't you? In any aggressive sport like that, if you show weakness, so you take that persona into your personal life, and when instead of putting your hand up and saying, "I'm really struggling here, I need some help," don't. And you put all these masks up and wait, you know, and unfortunately nobody recognised Terry was waving a white flag when he got his 2-year ban for taking human growth hormone. And it was a tragedy. But what it did was it gave rugby league a kick start to think, hang on a minute, we've got to get some of our house in order. And, you know, two guys from the NHS who were the founders, Malcolm Ray and Phil Cooper, you know, big supporters of rugby league and mental health. You know, they started State of Mind Sport, and and I've been with them 4 years. You know, that was September 2010. That. So
the ethos of State of Mind then is about players' welfare, sport welfare.
It started off about emotional welfare. It started off about mental fitness and trying to break down this stigma that you know, men in particular have to be this alpha male. They have to be this everything to everybody. And you're not allowed to cry, you're not allowed to show weaknesses, you're not allowed to be vulnerable, and you have to be literally the man of the house and all what that entails. And we started off in rugby league, and now, God, they're in a sector we donate: schools, colleges, universities, prisons, blue light services. But it's not just about alpha males. You know, we went into Google before lockdown. You know, we go into very mixed audiences, but because it's a power of sport. The sport is a really good hook to get men listening about mental health and mental fitness. So it's a good hook, and because there's me and Jimmy Kitchens work together, there's Phil Vevers and Dan Sculthorpe, who are brilliant, who work together. There's Ian Knock, George Riley, and we have Joe Phillips, who's a female player, ex-player. And we try to normalise mental fitness. You know, we try, rather than come up with clinical things, we just normalise it. That, you know something, at times life is a roller coaster emotionally, and there'll be times when you're feeling low and flat and vulnerable, and if you talk about it, you have the right people, the right structure, the right disciplines around you, it's amazing how you can get out of that roller coaster. But the first thing to do is to put your hand up and recognise that at times, like with our physical fitness, there's times where we'll be physically ill, and there'll be times when we're emotionally ill. And when we're physically, you know, if I break my leg, I need it potty plated, screwed and pinning maybe to get back to physical fitness. But what do I do if like lockdown? You know,
Yeah.
I haven't actually been out to work since 12th of March last year. You know, everything's been done via Zoom. I have to say, I'm surprised how well it's done. But I'm still in my four walls in my house every day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
And Zoom fatigue is a thing.
God, absolutely. And there's another word now called FOGO, the fear of going out, getting back to some normality, getting back into the workforce. But we can reduce anxiety levels by hand sanitising, by wearing masks, by doing everything we can. I've had a jab, you know, just doing everything we can to reduce the uncertainty of the outcomes. And if we do that, our mental fitness will improve.
Yeah.
You know, we try not to use mental health, we use mental fitness. Because we all have mental fitness like we all have physical fitness. And I love working for this charity. You know, Jimmy Gittins, he's my hero. He broke his neck playing rugby league 18 years ago for Charleston.
Right.
And broke his C3, C4 in his neck. One was coming out of his back of his neck, one had gone to his... And, and he was paralysed from the neck down from making that tackle 18 years ago. And he's now quadriplegic. He has a wheelchair. Oh, my God, he's got a great sense of humour. Everything he does is with a smile on his face, and I work with him pretty much every day via Zoom. I don't see him much at the moment, except via this 2x1 inch box on the but he still gives me goosebumps. I listen to his story, how he fought back from being told he would never be able to sit up and have children and walk, and he's got kids and he's married. And don't get me wrong, it's not easy. He can walk on crutches, but he motivates me every single day. And it's fantastic. So we genuinely, I don't want this to be a plug about State of Mind Sport, we genuinely believe we make a difference.
Yeah. So where can people find more about State of Mind here?
Yeah, go on website, stateofmindsport.org. We're on Twitter, we're on social media, we're on Instagram and all that lot. And just get on there. We're doing a 4120 thing at the moment to coincide with Mental Health Awareness Week in May, because there's one person dies by suicide every 40 seconds in the world. And 120 is the 120 minutes a rugby league or rugby union game lasts. So we're trying to get people to do 4120s. So there's a lot of people cycling 120 miles in 40 hours or walking 40 miles and you know, and so all that is on our website. And charities, you know, we obviously struggle for finance like all charities have done these last 12 months. So if anybody can donate, honestly, it'd be absolutely fantastic. So thank you very much for allowing me to plug that.
Oh, no problem. I'm a great supporter and an advocate for that. You know.
Thank you.
Definitely, yeah. And you mentioned there a bit of a technique, I think, speaking about reducing the anxiety through trying to consider what the outcomes may be. Is that something you consciously mentioned, or is that something you work on as State of Mind?
We all know what anxiety smells, looks like, feels like, tastes like, don't we? Because we've all had it in our various different guises, and it's different for you and me. You know, this is not one size fits all, and it's not about top trumps. But in the dictionary, anxiety, the definition, if you go in the dictionary, worry, nervousness, or unease about something with an uncertain outcome. Now, this last 12 months, if ever that sentence epitomised COVID over these last 12 months. So that's what anxiety literally means. So how do we reduce the uncertainty of the outcome? I've had my jab. I wear a mask. I hand sanitise my hands. I do everything I can to stay away from people in close proximity as I can to reduce the uncertainty of the outcome.
Yeah.
You know, and we can do that in every single walk of life. You know, get a good base around you. Get the right systems, the right structures in place. So if you are feeling low and vulnerable, you have got something in place. So the uncertainty of going even farther down that roller coaster, you know, you can stop it halfway down, because I'm going to talk to you when I'm feeling really low, because you've got some really good tips about how I can improve it. You know, get out walking, mindfulness, getting active. You know, gyms are opening from tomorrow. I'm golfing tomorrow, and sorry, I banked table again.
Right.
I'm golfing tomorrow. I'm at the gym Tuesday, golfing Wednesday. So my physical fitness is going to be great this week. Well, that's going to make me head. You know, just thinking of hitting a wedge into the first is making me smile.
Exciting,
you know, except when I pull it into the bunker, but that's another thing. You know, but things like that, we can all do things to help ourselves.
Yeah.
You know, whether that's surrounding yourself with family, the right people, and it's great, and it's about embracing. And like I said, if I'd have known all this then, when I was a referee, oh man,
would have helped you.
Do you think you'd still be there now?
Absolutely, I'd still be refereeing now. I'd have done 28 grand finals, 64 Challenge Cup finals, and 38 internationals, World Cups, you name it.
Brilliant.
And that's what we try to do. We work with referee societies to hopefully get the referees on board, how important it is, and also how important it is not to listen to people via social media, because they generally abusing the uniform. But unfortunately, behind that uniform, there's somebody that laughs, cries, bleeds, and screams. And I think it's really important that when people are abusing the match official, it's not just the uniform. They will go home and they will feel incredibly low and incredibly anxious.
Hurt
because possibly of your comments.
Yeah.
So
you're now getting to give the advice that you wish that you had had as a referee,
absolutely.
and that support.
Yeah,
that's absolutely fantastic.
It is, and maybe some of them things that we talked about, maybe that was the destiny to get me to where I am now.
Everything happens for a reason, doesn't it?
Everything happens for a reason,
Yeah.
And sometimes it's realising that when a door closes, you've got another opportunity to open another door.
Yeah.
Rather than focusing, don't get me wrong, that whole Leeds game will always be there.
But it wasn't a mistake, it was a lesson. Because you're using that now, aren't you? So
See, at the time, you think it's a failure.
Yeah.
It's only a failure, you never get up again. Now, at that time, I didn't get up and I laid down having that as a failure for many, many years.
Mm-hmm.
And it's only these last 2 or 3 years that I've realised that every process has an outcome, and maybe that process then was for me to be at this junction and this outcome. Being, emotionally the happiest I've ever been in my life, I'll be honest with you.
Right.
Life is even lockdown, people say, oh, you've had it tough, you haven't been out to work for over a year. Tough. I live in a nice detached house. I've got a 55-inch telly. I've got more sport channels than I can, I'm not going down the pit. This is not the Blitz.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, I know there's thousands of people suffer bereavements, and I'm not trying to make that it's not, but, all I can do is control my bit. Luckily, my dad died a few years ago, but my mum's got through it well. She got Alzheimer's, so she's had both the jabs. She doesn't go out. Me and my sister care for her, and so the people that I'm connected with are doing really well, and that's all I can control.
Yeah. Oh, brilliant.
You mentioned some experiences there throughout this episode that you're now, I think, drawing experience from for your state of mind and the support you give to others. How does that then support the referees?
Again, I just think it's giving them somewhere that they can go. I know through Phil Cooper and State of Mind, we're trying to do a peer support type thing where they have somewhere they can phone up, but that's, the amount of people that might not be easy to facilitate.
Yeah.
But just giving them their own self-aware, so that if they are feeling low and vulnerable and anxious, what they can do about talking to the right people, about getting out and being active, about putting in perspective that they're not necessarily abusing you, the person, it's you, the uniform, and also they're coming from somewhere where they haven't got a clue what the rules are. I yesterday I was on so many discussions regarding incidents in the games, and it was like, and they were disagreeing, and I said, look, I'm absolutely fine with you to disagree. I respect your opinion. I disagree with your opinion because of X, Y, and Z, but I respect it, and I certainly ain't going to fall out with you.
No.
Yeah.
Because you have a difference of opinion on me.
Yeah.
And they say, well, we'll take your opinion because of your experience. No, this is not the gospel according to St. Ian.
Yeah.
I have had hundreds of games of experience, both video ref and reffing. So maybe, the way I get to the process and outcome.
An implied knowledge.
Absolutely.
The way you rationalise it, your perspective is different, therefore you may see it differently.
But I'm still allowing you to have a different opinion without abusing you.
Yeah.
Which is different, rather than saying you're wrong because you're a whatever.
But as we said before, I was right about grubber kicks, wasn't I? We agreed that, didn't we?
Well, come on, I'm not trying, Dave.
I'm not trying. It was definitely a try.
On that note, Ian, it's been an absolute privilege. I've loved listening to you. I've loved getting the insight and rationalising some of things that I'd sort of preempted from my childhood and things like that. So thank you for coming on.
My pleasure.
Best of luck with State of Mind and everything that you're doing. I think it's absolutely fantastic. And from me and Dave, just thanks very much.
Thank you very much.
Really enjoyed it. It's my pleasure. Thank you, gentlemen.
Excellent. Thank you.
My name's Ian Smith, former Superleague Rugby League referee, and you've just watched the Dockhouse Rugby Show. If you've liked what you've seen, please subscribe. Best wishes and keep watching.